Hey my friends, welcome to this video. It's been about 6 years since I did a review of the B Celtic scale. This was very much at the beginning of my journey on the Rav. I had started on Handpan before that, but my initial reaction was, before playing it for all of this time and writing all the music I've written with it, so I wanted to take this opportunity to go through some of the scales that I reviewed 6 years ago and talk about how my opinion may have changed on them now and what I've done with them in that time period. The first up in this new series is the B Celtic. I figured that was a good place to start since this is the video that kind of started all of the reviews that I did throughout the last 6 or 7 years. So B Celtic is a fantastic scale. It's kind of the iconic scale that everybody starts with on the Rav. D Celtic, or D minor on the Handpan, is a very common first scale. So where B is often the key that Rav is building instruments in, this has become the standard for a lot of players. I particularly prefer the B Celtic over the B Celtic double ding because of the position. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go through the notes. But I find that this scale is very accessible for all types of players. It's good for percussionists, it's good for songwriters. It's an all-around good scale for all uses. So let's take a look at the B Celtic. Here are the notes of the B Celtic scale. So one of the primary interests in this scale is the ability to really pick anywhere as your center and create music from it. Whether you're a player that's very focused on the center note and you're working with percussion mainly and adding in notes randomly, it's going to work for that. If you're a player that's interested in varying your root note, it also is great for that. And it's because of the layout and because there aren't as many half steps as the chord, it's a little easier to avoid dissonant notes. This scale is also one of the few that has a note to the left of the note number 1 that isn't dissonant. So your progression could be something like, that's very unusual for 1 and 2 to go together, but it allows you to do a lot with just this bottom half of the instrument. In the lessons I teach where they're song-based, we make use of every position we can, and having this available as a dyad that's really comfortable to get to is super important. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of the B Celtic played in a few styles. First style is going to be a very common style that people approach these instruments in, and that's with percussion as the leading aspect. That's not my playing style. I like to incorporate percussion, but I'm a songwriter, so my interest isn't necessarily in the standard way of playing. But this is an example of more percussive playing with the B Celtic. Here's an example of how I would typically play a Rav or a Handpan. And this is focusing on a chord progression, obviously with rhythm and melody intertwined together. The third style I wanted to highlight was more meditative playing. A lot of players who get into these instruments really aren't interested in the drumming ends or the songwriting musician end of it, and they're more interested in creating a soundscape or a background music. B Celtic is a great scale for that because it's very flexible in where you can place your roots and where you can place your melody. And it's very, very open to a variety of styles. So this is an example of something that's a little bit more meditative. Obviously, one of the reasons this scale is named the Celtic scale is because it has the potential to have a Celtic feel to it. Players such as Daniel Waples really popularized the scale as it was represented on the Hong back in 2010, 2009. This scale can be used like that by typically using a 6-count or a 3-count. Again, music theory doesn't matter, or we're just using 6 beats or 3 beats and focusing on that as our way of organizing things. So let me give you an example of what a Celtic style of playing could sound like on this instrument. My friends, hope that this updated review was useful for you. In all of my time working with this particular scale, I have to say this one and the B chord are ones that I often will bring to a gig. And it's interesting because the B chord is only one note different than this scale. And that half step in the B chord really trips some people up when they're starting to play. And it's just an order of thinking sort of thing. But it's really easy to play both of them and work it out in your head. If you're looking for an instrument that's really easy to approach right away and doesn't take as much thought, this may be a good choice for you. Many of my students, when they're first beginning their journey with me, they choose this scale just because of the ease of access. And again, like I said in the beginning, it's useful for people who are percussionists, for people who are songwriters, and also for the yoga meditation crowd who are not so focused on melody or percussion, but are still interested in creating something beautiful for their classes. So, thank you guys for joining me. Great to see you. And I'll lead this out with some music from my album Lux Natura on the B Celtic. Talk to you guys soon, and look forward to the next one. If you're interested in one-on-one personal lessons with me as well, all of my info for that can be found below. And I do song-based classes that help you develop as a player and help your ear develop as you begin to grow your skills as well. Much more fun than just randomly doing rolls on an instrument. So, stay well, friends, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.